In this lesson, I'm going to talk about the Dorian mode. So first, I'll quickly explain kind of what that is. For those of you who don't know, a mode, like the modes called Dorian, Phrygian, etc. These are basically the scales that you would get starting from any white key on the piano and going to the next one an octave up. So basically, like major would be the C mode, right? Because when you start on C and go through the white keys, you get C major. Minor would be the A mode. So in this case, Dorian is the D mode. So it's the scale that you get when you start from D and go up a full octave. So doing that here, you get. So that's the Dorian mode. That's the Dorian scale. So the modes are basically just like major and minor. They're scales, so you can start it from anywhere. So you can play the Dorian mode from anywhere. So I'll play E Dorian now. So the rest of the stuff I'm going to show, I'll just show it from E, because that's the most convenient. And then I'll also show some of them, like the same stuff in A, so you can find it. So most of these modes, all the notes, all the scales that you can get from going from the white keys, are actually only one note off from the major or minor scales. So it's useful to think about them in that way, because then you can think, like, what is that one note doing? Like, what's it changing about the feel of this scale? So in the case of Dorian, this is the note that matters. Right? So in an E minor scale, you would have a C natural there. In Dorian, you have C sharp. Right? So in general, having notes sharper that would otherwise be flat makes a scale sound brighter and kind of less dark, less sad. Right? So in this case, basically Dorian, in that section of the scale, it sounds basically not as dark as minor. So for this reason, it's really common to use this in a kind of jazzy way. Not so much when you use it melodically, like when you're just using it by itself. It can be kind of medieval sounding, or a lot of different things. But let me talk about how the harmonization would work with this scale. So, going from 1, 4, 5, basically, using the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord, we can just make chords out of the notes in the scale, just, in the same way that we would with major or minor. So, as a 1 chord here, we get E minor. As a 4 chord, we get A major, 1, 4, B minor as a 5, right, and then other chords, kind of the same as it would be in a minor scale. So basically it's that chord here, like the 4 chord, in this case the A major, that harmonically gives a distinctiveness to Dorian. So that's kind of a sound that you'll hear in a lot of jazz and kind of funky stuff, especially when something's kind of going for a jazzy sound. So compare these two. Right, compare that to. So let me kind of break down how I was using it there. You can use these as full chords. So just like think of an E minor, to A major transition. So that's one option. It's also really common to basically hold the bass and then just do half of these chords, right? So here I'm not going E minor, A major, B minor, right? I'm just playing these two notes. So then you can get something like. Right, again, to kind of illustrate the feel of this, it sounds very different if you do that with straight up minor. Or harmonic minor. Right, compared to. Right, so those other two don't sound jazzy. Harmonic minor sounds a lot more dramatic. So that's basically the purpose of using this Dorian mode. And then one other thing that you can do with this harmonization, so over like this. So basically, this A chord, you can just play it like that, right? So what you get here, you can think of it as a F#7 chord, right? That would be the 2 chord. Or you can just think of it as a A6, or just not think of it that way. You can just think of it as like, an extension. Right, and then you get that high melody over there. Yeah. So let me quickly show this scale and these chords from the keys of A and D, basically those open shapes. I won't show the 5 chord because that doesn't sound as good in Dorian. Like it's really common to just go back and forth between 1 and 4. So from A you get right, and then right. So chord-wise, you're just going to get. You're just going to get that. And then from D. So here you're going to get, this is going to be your 1 chord, right? And your 4 chord is going to be G major. Right. So you can always move these up. That's basically it.